Chapter 247. Thinking up to here, Yao He turned to Yao Shi and said, you use the blood beads first. Yao Shi's face was filled with emotion and tenderness as she nodded slightly. She then raised her beautiful face towards the cultivator and ordered, collect the blood beads for me. The 17 to 18 people all looked at each other, but no one was willing to get up. During this time, they had suffered a lot of humiliation at the hands of Yao He and Yao Shi. They couldn't wait to burn their bones and scatter their ashes, so how could they be willing to help them? But since it was someone else's order, they couldn't keep dragging it out. If they angered them, it would only lead to more torture and disaster. 10,000 Flower Palace's Yi Han stood up angrily, her small canine teeth glinting as she said, I'll go. Yang Kai rolled his eyes and reached out to pull her aside. I'll go, you rest. Bai Xiaoming was meditating when he suddenly opened his eyes and chuckled. What's wrong? You've just been subdued and you want to show your loyalty? You want to rush to do this kind of work? That's right. People under the eaves have no choice but to lower their heads. Yang Kai chuckled and stood up. Bai Xiaoming and his junior brother sneered, their faces full of disdain, causing many people to show displeasure. Walking around the area where the monster beast had died, he collected 30 to 40 blood beads before striding over to the 3 Sun Luo temple disciples. Yao Shi looked at Yang Kai coldly, her expression somewhat vigilant. After all, Yang Kai was brought here by ZMO, so Yao Shi couldn't help but be on guard. Throw the blood beads over. When Yang Kai was about 10 meters away, Yao Shi coldly said, not letting him come any closer. Yang Kai nodded and used his strength to throw the more than 30 blood beads over one by one, which Yao Shi caught without missing a single one. ZMO watched indifferently, waiting for Yao Shi to finish collecting the blood beads before saying, now you've gotten what you wanted. If you don't have anything else, I'll be leaving first. Yao He and Yao Shi looked at each other and chuckled. Senior sister, where do you want to go? ZMO's expression immediately changed. Where I go is none of your business. Yao Shi giggled. Senior sister's temper is still so bad. We are also thinking for you, senior sister. This exotic land is extremely dangerous. You don't have the monster beast to protect you now. If you run out and encounter an accident, how are we going to explain it to Master? ZMO stared at them in disbelief. You even want to control me? Yao He said, Senior sister, what are you saying? We are a family, so we should take care of each other. Yao Shi also nodded. That's right. For the sake of senior sister's safety, junior sister thinks it's better for you to stay. ZMO's lips curled into a sneer. His face was filled with grief. On the way here, Yang Kai had already told her that Yao He and Yao Shi were very likely to go all the way. He would take things to the extreme. Since they dared to touch your monster beast, they would dare to touch your people. That was what Yang Kai told her. ZMO still had a little bit of hope, but now it seems what Kai Yang said was absolutely right. If they killed ZMO in this kind of place, as long as the aftermath was handled properly, there would be no clues left. As for the great Han Dynasty's cultivator, they would all be silenced, so why should Yao He and Yao Shi be afraid? First, they would eliminate her monster beast, then target her. All of this was exactly as Yang Kai had inferred. She didn't know whether to say he had foresight or that he had a clear understanding of people's schemes. ZMO was silent, her eyes gradually becoming cold. Yao Shi suddenly frowned. Turning her head towards Yang Kai, she bluntly reprimanded, What are you standing here for? Why don't you get lost? Saying so, she looked at ZMO contemptuously. Senior sister, is this how you teach your subordinates? You have no manners at all. ZMO didn't answer, but Yang Kai smiled awkwardly and cautiously cupped his fists towards her. His eyes darted towards ZMO, his expression suddenly filled with resentment. You too, can you make this slut get that insect out of my body? I am willing to abandon the dark and pledge my loyalty to you too. ZMO heard this. Turning her head towards Yang Kai, she grit her teeth and asked, What did you just call me? Slut. What's wrong? Yang Kai seemed to have found a backer. Straightening his back, he stood up straight. Ah. ZMO laughed angrily. Daring to call me that, it seems you've forgotten who's in charge. These words were what Yang Kai had said to her, but now he was throwing them back at her. The lesson I taught you before wasn't enough. Zimo's murderous, intense sword. Yang Kai immediately fell to the ground in pain, his hands clutching his stomach as he rolled around, shouting to Yao He and Yao Shi, "You two save me, I really want to pledge my loyalty to you, even if I have to sacrifice my life, I will not hesitate to do so." This sudden turn of events naturally attracted the attention of the cultivator. Hearing Yang Kai's shameless words, those who had some friendship with him couldn't help showing a pained expression, especially the 4 girls from the 10,000 Flower Palace. Han Shaoqi's brow wrinkled, obviously she hadn't expected Yang Kai to be so spineless. On the other hand, Bai Xiaoming and his junior brother were stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. What did he say? He wants to pledge his loyalty to those two? Ha! It's so funny. Just now he took that job to show his loyalty. I was wondering why he was so hardworking. It seems he really is. Saying so, he spat on the ground, his eyes filled with disdain. Shame, this was a complete shame. Although this group of big man cultivators were also being controlled, none of them had ever begged for mercy like Yang Kai. Kai Yang was still shouting at the top of his lungs, as if he didn't know how much face he had lost. "You too, please save me. Seeing that I am willing to join you, please save me." Yao He and Yao Shi obviously didn't expect to see such a good show. ZMO was the one they wanted to deal with, and Yang Kai was the cultivator ZMO had brought, but now, the two of them had turned against each other. Wonderful, wonderful. Not to save Yang Kai's life, but to attack ZMO's arrogance. Yao He and Yao Shi also felt that they couldn't continue to watch. If they continued to watch, this spineless big man cultivator would become a waste. "Senior sister, please stop." Yao Shi's face was filled with pride as she tried to hold back her laughter. ZMO raised her head, her eyes cold. "What? Do you want to interfere when I teach my own subordinate a lesson?" Yao He quickly replied, "If it was someone else, we naturally wouldn't interfere, but senior sister, you also heard him, he wants to be loyal to the two of us, so he is now one of us. Senior sister, you won't be so unreasonable, right?" The two stared at each other, ZMO gasping for breath. After a moment, she gritted her teeth and said, "Good, since junior brother and junior sister want him, then as senior sister, I will naturally help." Yao He smiled as if he had won a great battle, his face filled with pride. Yang Kai, who was rolling on the ground, slowly stopped screaming and struggling. His clothes were soaked with sweat as he staggered to his feet and cupped his fists to Yao He and Yao Shi, gratefully saying, "Many thanks to the two of you, I have suffered a lot under this cheap woman's hands these days." Yao He looked at him meaningfully and nodded. "Good, senior sister's temper is not good, but you made the right choice. Following us, we won't let you suffer. Many thanks to the two of you, many thanks to the two of you." Yang Kai became more and more flattering. On the other side of the cultivator, Bai Xiaoming sneered, "A grass that swings from side to side, doesn't he know that no matter who hands he falls into, in the end, only death awaits him?" Yang Kai straightened his back again and looked at ZMO with a grin, his mouth not holding back. "Slut, get that bug out of my body, or else you'll suffer." A fox borrowing the tiger's might. Using the tiger's skin as a banner, this was what it meant. Yao He and Yao Shi became more and more proud. They no longer needed to confront ZMO directly. Yang Kai's betrayal was enough to make her lose face. Good. ZMO's heart was pained, and it seemed that she was really angry. "Since you want it, then we'll do as you wish. But, do you think that falling into their hands will bring you any good? Sooner or later you'll die. I hope you won't regret it when the time comes." Yang Kai pointed his nose at the sky, arrogantly and domineeringly. "Who asked a slut like you to meddle in other people's business? This father is happy, so bite me." Yao He and Yao Shi glanced at each other, feeling that this big man cultivator was really an idiot, but if he wasn't, he wouldn't have been stupid enough to talk back to ZMO in front of her. The Yao family brother and sister were very proud of themselves, while the group of big man cultivator couldn't wait to kowtow. Although their friendship with Yang Kai wasn't very deep, at this moment, they also felt that they had lost face. Everyone here was a big man, but now this kind of thing had happened in front of Tianlang's group. It was really shameful. Unfortunately, The person involved didn't have the slightest awareness of this. Lung Shan was the only one who inadvertently coughed and covered her mouth as a trace of a smile flashed across her eyes. She really admired Zi Mo's and her two brothers' acting skills. As for Yang Kai's previous planning, she admired him even more. The current situation was basically no different from what he had predicted. Lung Shan knew that as long as they passed this hurdle, the main event was about to begin, so she quietly walked over to Han Xiaoqi's side and whispered in her ear. When Han Xiaoqi heard this, her eyes flashed and she looked at Lung Shan in surprise. The latter nodded with a serious expression. I understand. Han Xiaoqi took a deep breath, a faint smile appearing on her face as she passed on what she had heard to her three junior sisters. Hurry up, what are you waiting for? Yang Kai urged, as if he couldn't wait to convert to Yao He and Yao Shi. Zmo stared at him deeply before stepping forward, stretching out her hand and placing it on Yang Kai's abdomen. Yang Kai blinked a few times before turning to Yao He. You too, she won't take this opportunity to kill me, right? Yao He sneered. How could senior sister be such a person? That's good, that's good. Yang Kai couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. A moment later, he vomited out a soul-controlling insect with an ugly expression. Before Zmo could take it back, Yang Kai rushed up and stomped on it, cursing viciously and vulgarly, spittle flying everywhere. Yao He and Yao Shi's eyebrows twitched as they listened while Zmo's face paled, her tender body trembling as she glared at Yang Kai with a murderous look. Enough! Yao He couldn't stand Yang Kai's idiocy and hurriedly shouted, the soul-controlling insect has a unique physique, you won't be able to kill it. Oh, I'm sorry. Everyone felt dizzy. This, should they say that he was self-aware or something? Chapter 248. Yao He lightly coughed and looked at Yang Kai. Since you're willing to pledge allegiance to us, you should know how we'll treat you, right? Yang Kai nodded. I know, isn't it just a bug? Yao He smiled lightly. Good, although we're very pleased that you've decided to abandon the dark and join us, we don't know much about you. Planting these soul-controlling insects is just a precaution. If you perform well in the future, you'll be rewarded handsomely. Many thanks for Big Brother's support. Yang Kai flattered. Give me your hand. Yao He glanced at Zmo proudly before ordering Yang Kai. Yang Kai stretched out his hand. Yao He took out one of his soul-controlling insects and was about to place it in Yang Kai's hand when Yao Shi suddenly shouted, Wait! What's wrong? Yao He turned to look at her. Yao Shi's face was filled with vigilance as she looked at Yang Kai, then at Zmo, suddenly sneering. Yao He's expression changed slightly as he read the meaning in his cousin's eyes, and in an instant his forehead began to sweat. He had only cared about humiliating Zmo by subduing Yang Kai, but he hadn't thought about whether this was a trap or not. If this was a trap, then, fortunately, his cousin was smart. Thinking so, Yao He hurriedly took back the insect and stared at Yang Kai vigilantly. Circulate your secret art and let me see your Yuan Qi attribute. The nemesis of soul-controlling insects was heat. Any cultivator who cultivated a yang or fire attribute secret art would not be able to control it. Once the insect was burned, their soul would also be damaged. Therefore, among the group of cultivators on the Great Han Dynasty's side, one of them from the Raging Fire Temple had been killed without exception. As soon as Yao He's voice fell, Zmo sneered contemptuously. The people on the Great Han Dynasty's side couldn't help feeling nervous, especially Chen Shueshu and Su Xiaoyu. Yang Kai had only fought in front of the two of them, so this pair of lovers naturally knew about Yang Kai's Yuan Qi attribute. They hadn't thought of this until Lung Shan quietly reminded them. Only then did they realize. But now, the other party actually wanted to check the attributes of Yang Kai's Yuan Qi. He couldn't help but feel anxious, afraid that Yang Kai would be exposed. Han Xiaoqi and Yi Han glanced at each other, then quietly signaled to Hua Ruoyin and Lu Qingru. The four girls of the 10,000 Flower Palace were all secretly circulating their Yuan Qi, ready to attack at any time. The same was true for Yi Qingxi and Zhou Ba. Yao Shi stared straight at Yang Kai and coldly reprimanded, I told you to circulate your secret art, did you hear me? The hundreds of monster beasts around them were getting restless. Yang Kai quickly nodded, and then forced out the energy from his unyielding golden skeleton. A faintly discernible black gas spread out, wrapping around Yang Kai. This black gas was mixed with the smell of violence, blood, and slaughter, making Yang Kai look somewhat evil. Sensing the attribute of this energy, Yao He and Yao Shi's expressions gradually relaxed. As long as it wasn't the heat attributed Yuan Qi, the soul-controlling insect had nothing to fear. "You're cultivating an evil secret art?" Yao He looked at Yang Kai curiously. Your strength is too low, you haven't even reached the Yuan Qi boundary, how did you survive?" Yao He couldn't understand. Yang Kai was embarrassed. "More than half a year ago, I accidentally fell into a valley and spent a lot of effort to climb up, but as soon as I appeared, I was caught by that slut surnamed Z." Yao He chuckled. "You're really unlucky." But this also explained why he was still alive. If a separation and reunion boundary cultivator fell into a valley, they would have to slowly climb up. "Give me your hand." Yao He's expression relaxed, and Yao Shi no longer paid attention to Yang Kai. What kind of waves could a little cultivator who cultivated an evil secret art cause? Yao He directly threw a soul-controlling insect into Yang Kai's hand, and the insect instantly drilled into Yang Kai's body, rushing along his meridians towards Dantian. "Get lost. If I need you, I'll call you. Now we need to talk to senior sister." Yao He waved his hand at Yang Kai and said. Yang Kai grinned at him. This smile was enough to make one's hair stand on end. Yao He's heart skipped a beat, but before he could react, ZMO suddenly took action. Stepping forward, she rushed towards Yao He. Yao He had just shouted 2 words when he let out a miserable scream, his legs giving way as he fell to the ground, his 2 hands clutching his head as his face distorted, as if he had just been subjected to the most vicious torture in the world. With his soul injured, no one would be able to endure the pain of that moment. ZMO brushed past Yao He's body, ignoring him as she directly attacked Yao Shi with her palm. The unforeseen event happened so quickly that Yao Shi didn't even have time to react before ZMO's palm struck her chest, deforming it and sending her flying through the air, vomiting a mouthful of blood. Before she had even landed, she saw the large cultivator who had always bowed to her and fawned over her suddenly chop down on Yao He's neck. Accompanied by a loud crack, Yao He's screams came to an abrupt end as his head drooped down. "No!" Yao Shi cried out in alarm, quickly issuing orders in her heart, and the dozens of monster beasts she controlled immediately rushed towards her. Yang Kai's expression was cold. After taking Yao He's life, he activated his movement skill and rushed behind Yao Shi, clenching his fists and punching forward. Yao Shi had just landed when she was struck by a burning sun's 3-layer blast. With a loud bang, the true Yang Yuan Qi poured into her body, directly causing her minor injuries to become serious, and she was sent flying back towards ZMO. ZMO's palms crisscrossed as she pushed her true Qi, striking Yao Shi 3 or 4 times in a ruthless manner. Only at this moment did Yao Shi have the opportunity to counterattack, hurriedly blocking ZMO's deadly attack and landing on the ground. Gasping for breath, she screamed, "Kill them for me." Naturally, she was calling out to the large cultivator she had planted with her soul-controlling insect. Of the 17 to 18 people, she and Yao He each controlled half. In other words, she could control the life and death of 9 people. However, none of the large cultivator responded to her. "You asked for this." Yao Shi's face was pale as she glared at Yang Kai and ZMO, screaming viciously. On the large man's side, 2 people suddenly collapsed, clutching their stomachs in pain as they rolled around on the ground. Yang Kai and ZMO glanced at each other and sped up. Yao Shi was only a Yuan Qi 4th stage cultivator. With this kind of strength, even Yang Kai could easily kill her, not to mention that she was seriously injured and had to face a Yuan Qi 6th stage opponent like ZMO. After a few moves, Yao Shi's arm was crippled by ZMO, while Yang Kai condensed a drop of Yang liquid into a sword and cut off Yao Shi's head. Until death, Yao Shi's eyes were wide open, unable to rest in peace. From Yang Kai's sudden attack to Yao Shi's death, only 7 or 8 breaths of time had passed. This battle could be described as a flash of lightning. 2 of her fellow disciples had died, but ZMO was still expressionless. Yang Kai roared to the sky, The monster beast is about to riot. Defend with all your strength, don't hurt the enemy, just protect yourselves. There were more than 100 monster beasts nearby, all of which were controlled by Yao He and Yao Shi, but now that the two of them were dead, these monster beasts had become ownerless. According to the information ZMO had given him before, once the monster beast was out of control, it would become violent and attack people, but as long as they felt pressure, they would still choose to retreat. With so many monster beasts, the large man's cultivators simply couldn't cope, not to mention that they already had 2 people on the ground who needed to be taken care of. Even if all of them were intact, they still wouldn't be a match. As soon as Yang Kai's voice fell, the more than 50 monster beasts under Yao He's control rushed towards the large man's group. This group of people were all elites of their respective sects, and with Lung Shan's reminder, they were able to react quickly, surrounding the 2 exhausted cultivators who were being tortured by the soul-controlling insects in the middle while the others spread out and worked together to resist the numerous monster beasts that were pouncing towards them. The 4 girls from the 10,000 Flower Palace formed a small spirit array and simultaneously released a visible Yuan Qi, the 4 Yuan Qi fusing together in midair. Han Shaoqi lightly shouted, "For Symbol's seal." The fused Yuan Qi transformed into a cage and fell from the sky, directly trapping 3 or 4 monster beasts inside. As the 4 girls' hands' seals changed, a sea of petals floated up from the cage, each petal like a small sword, crisscrossing through the cage, containing infinite murderous intent. The monster beast tried to break free but was unable to break out of this cage, and after a short time, it was cut into pieces by the countless petals and fell to the ground, never to rise again. Shura sects Xianxia and Zhou Ba were both shrouded in blood-red light and filled with murderous intent. Xianxia was a woman, so her fighting style was somewhat gentle and graceful, giving off a seductive and enchanting feeling. On the other hand, Zhou Ba, who was like an iron tower, directly grabbed a 4th-order monster beast and tore it apart. Accompanied by a loud roar, this 4th-order monster beast was suddenly torn in half, blood flowing out like a fountain as its internal organs splattered all over the ground, drenching Zhou Ba like a god of death, his expression ferocious. Zhou Ba grinned, revealing a mouthful of fangs as he brought the monster beast's corpse to his mouth and tore off a chunk of flesh, chewing it in his mouth, creating a bloody scene. Chen Shueshu and Su Xiaoyu worked together to kill the enemy, once again using the reflecting moon sect's secret technique, full moon overhead. Moonlight poured down and penetrated the monster beast's body. This was a large-scale offensive secret technique, and once it was used, it immediately reduced the pressure on everyone. Gemini Island, Soaring Feather Pavilion, Pure Heart Palace. The cultivator from each of the great sects desperately pushed their Yuan Qi, using their killing techniques. For a time, the roars of beasts rang out continuously, and colorful lights flashed, stabilizing the situation. Although they were unable to break through the encirclement, the monster beast would not be able to break through in the short term. The 2 of us are in big trouble. Yang Kai and ZMO both stood back to back, their expressions dignified. Before Yao Shi died, she had ordered the 50 or so monster beast under her control to attack, so now the 2 of them were surrounded and the situation was worrying. Let's go and join them. ZMO finished speaking, turned around, grabbed Yang Kai's waist, and flew up into the air. This. Yang Kai sniffled, feeling like he had lost face. I saved your life. ZMO snorted. We're even. Yang Kai chuckled, then shouted to the other side, give up your position. Lung Shan looked up and then moved to the side. As soon as the vacant position was cleared, ZMO and Yang Kai stepped in and joined the others. Chapter 249. The sounds of battle shook the heavens as 17 to 18 people formed a large circle, leaving the defense of their backs to the others. At this moment, the elites of nearly a dozen sects had united into a single entity. From time to time, a monster beast would fall, but the cultivators would continue to use their Yuan Qi to their heart's content. As the smell of blood spread, the monster beast's ferocity was aroused, and as if they had gone mad, they attacked without any regard for their lives. Originally, this group of people was more than enough to deal with more than 50 monster beasts, but with the arrival of Yang Kai and ZMO, the other 50 monster beasts were also attracted to them, increasing the pressure on everyone. Accompanied by a scream, a cultivator's chest was almost cut open by a fifth-order monster beast. Although he did not die, he was still severely injured. He was also quite clever and immediately retreated, shrinking into the circle of people around him. The people around him also quickly filled the gap he left behind. "Can you control the monster beast?" Yang Kai asked ZMO. "I'm working on it, but it's very difficult to control." ZMO grit her teeth, releasing her soul-controlling insects as she continued to attack. However, the monster beast were all moving quickly, so the soul-controlling insects could not do anything. After about an incense stick worth of time, ZMO was only able to control 5 monster beasts, and after these 5 monster beasts were controlled, it did not take long for them to die under the attacks of the other monster beast. As time passed, with the consumption of yuan qi and the injuries of the cultivators, the situation gradually became dangerous. "What do we do?" ZMO was so anxious that she began to sweat. After such a long time, only 30 monster beasts had died, and most of them were only 4th-order monster beast. The 5th-order monster beast that was still alive were the ones that could threaten everyone's lives. Yang Kai grit his teeth and held on. He was not worried about being broken through, so with his full strength, there was no monster beast that could get close. After a moment of contemplation, he shouted, "Everyone, leave a bit of yuan qi. If you really can't do it, just fly away. But remember, don't leave early by yourself." Han Shaoqi raised her voice and said, "Just shout. We will listen to your orders." Yi Han was a little worried. "What about you? You're only at the separation and reunion boundary. Everyone could fly, except for Yang Kai. Once that happened, he would definitely be torn apart by the monster beast." "I'll take him away," ZMO said coldly. Many people glanced at her in surprise as they took a break from their work. However, this was not a foolproof plan. Although the yuan qi cultivator could fly, its speed was not very fast. Moreover, it consumed too much yuan qi. If the monster beast chased after it, it would only be in greater danger. The white-hot battle was still going on. There were people who were constantly injured and retreated into the big circle. Everyone was also shrinking the line of defense bit by bit. At the same time, there were also countless casualties among the monster beast. After a while, like a dying flash, the monster beast's attacks suddenly became much stronger. For a time, everyone was flustered and exhausted. Yang Kai's expression was calm. While observing the situation, he was weighing the best time to retreat. While he was deep in thought, several monster beasts suddenly rushed in from the side. Zimo and Leng Shan stood side by side and worked together to block the monster beast. In the middle of the fierce battle, 2 5th-order monster beasts leaped over the crowd of beasts and opened its mouth in midair. One on the left and one on the right, it pounced towards them, its fangs gleaming with a cold light. The 2 women's expressions changed greatly, and in an instant, they felt cold all over. They were now in a hurry to deal with the 5th-order monster beast. How could they spare any energy to deal with the 5th-order monster beast? Counting on others? Not to mention, everyone had to deal with the enemy in front of them, even Yang Kai. Once these 2 5th-order monster beasts pounced on them, even if they didn't die, they would be seriously injured. While they were panicking, Yang Kai didn't care about the monster beast in front of him, letting it pounce on him and bite him. His expression became incomparably dignified, his eyebrows serious, and the yuan qi fiercely gushed out from his palms. The white tiger seal in his left hand and the divine ox seal in his right, the 2 seals fused together. A faint light shot out. Beast Slave Seal. It hit the body of one of the 5th-order monster beast. Immediately, the 5th-order monster beast bared its fangs and rushed towards its companion. The 2 monster beasts instantly engaged in a fierce battle, and ZMO and Leng Shan's crisis was resolved. Looking at Yang Kai with lingering fear, the 2 women's eyes flashed with a trace of gratitude. No matter who it was, both of them had the idea of taking Yang Kai's life, but due to a freak combination of factors, they had been tricked by Yang Kai and ended up being controlled instead. These days, whether it was ZMO or Leng Shan, although they appeared obedient on the surface, in their hearts, There was never a moment where they didn't want to kill Yang Kai to remove the brand in their minds. This thought had never weakened, even at this moment. But it was undeniable that Yang Kai had disregarded his own safety to save their lives, which still touched ZMO and Leng Shan. Compared to their fellow disciples, this boy who had controlled them, tortured them many times, and didn't even know how to be tender and protective of the fairer sex, seemed more reliable. Damn it! Yang Kai cursed. Just now, because of the slight delay, a piece of his flesh had been torn off by the monster beast in front of him. Although the injury wasn't serious, he was still bleeding profusely. With a roar, Yuan Qi went berserk and attacked fiercely, each attack taking the life of the enemy. Since the two fifth-order monster beasts' sneak attack had failed, the monster beast on the battlefield seemed to have lost all motivation. After attacking for a while, some monster beast fled. In just half a cup of tea's time, all the monster beast had fled, those that hadn't been killed. Everyone stood on the spot, gasping for breath. Every one of them was dripping with blood and looked extremely exhausted. Looking at the ground covered in demon beast corpses, all of them felt as if they had just survived a calamity. Suddenly, someone burst out laughing as if a stone had been thrown into a calm lake, causing ripples that stirred up everyone's excitement and joy. Laughter rang out one after another, and even the women were smiling at this moment. Alive. He survived. Although it was difficult, although it was inconceivable, everyone had survived. They had thought that after being controlled by Yao He and Yao Shi, they would sooner or later be unable to escape death, but now, not a single one of them had died. And all of this was thanks to Yang Kai. If he hadn't killed Yao He in a surprise attack, then together with ZMO to kill Yao Shi, the only fate that awaited these people would have been certain death. I owe you my life. Zuofeng from the Pure Heart Palace turned to look at him and said sincerely. Yang Kai smiled and nodded. We all owe you our lives. Han Shaoqi smiled. After the battle, everyone was resting and recovering without a care for their image. After this battle, nearly 80% of the people were injured, and only a few were unscathed. These injuries were not fatal. As long as they were properly nursed back to health, they would be able to recover in at most half a month. Yang Kai was not stingy, taking out a bottle of healing pills from his universe bag and distributing them to the injured, causing them to feel even more grateful. After the joy of surviving a disaster passed, a cloud of worry once again enveloped everyone. This worry came from the two cultivator who had fallen to the ground. Before Yao Shi died, she had ordered the cultivator under her control to kill Yang Kai and ZMO, but no one had responded, so in a fit of anger, Yao Shi had decided to punish them in an attempt to coerce them. This punishment fell on the two cultivators' heads. One was Li Yuan from the Pure Heart Palace, Zuofeng's brother, and the other was by Xiaoming's junior brother, one of the people who had ridiculed Yang Kai before. Everyone gathered around them, frowning. How is it? Yang Kai squeezed through the crowd and asked. Zuofeng's expression was gloomy as he smiled bitterly. Brothers Danon was drilled through by that insect. Yang Kai's expression changed slightly as he hesitated, then his cultivation. Zuofeng slowly shook his head. With his dantian broken, his Yuan Qi had been completely drained. Although his life was not in danger, from now on he could only be reduced to an ordinary person and would never be able to cultivate again unless he could find a peerless medicine that could repair his dantian. However, this kind of pill only existed in legends. Where could one find it? Li Yuan was an elite of the Pure Heart Palace, so naturally his aptitude and strength were not too bad, but now because of a small insect, he could no longer cultivate. Li Yuan's face was ashen at this moment, and his expression was dull, as if he had lost his soul. This kind of blow was not something anyone could bear. Compared to his silence, another person who had suffered the same fate seemed much more violent. This person was by Xiaoming's junior brother, the one who had ridiculed Yang Kai time and time again. Perhaps it was karma, but when Yao Shi chose to punish him, she had included him in her list. This person tightly held onto by Xiaoming, tears streaming down his face as he sobbed, "Brother, I can still cultivate, my dantian isn't broken, right?" Bai Xiaoming's face was cold, his lips twitching a few times, but he did not know how to comfort him. The group of people was silent, their hearts filled with sorrow. Although they had not been very happy with this person before, and he had even been rude to Yang Kai, he was still a cultivator for the great Han dynasty. Brother, tell me, am I a cripple? The person roared, his face red with anger. Only then did Bai Xiaoming nod his head with difficulty. Impossible! The person's expression suddenly became fierce. Impossible! How could a trivial insect damage my dantian? My talent is outstanding. After entering the sect and cultivating for less than 10 years, I have already reached the Yuan Qi boundary 3rd order. I will become an immortal ascension boundary master. I will become one of the strongest masters in the world. As he roared, he seemed to remember something and suddenly turned his eyes to ZMO standing nearby. Right? She is a cultivator for Tianlang, she must know how to save it. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up, even Li Xen Yuan involuntarily turned to ZMO, everyone's eyes filled with anticipation and nervousness. ZMO's expression was indifferent as she slowly shook her head. I have no way. Li Xen Yuan's eyes dimmed again. Bai Xiaoming's junior brother roared, Bitch, you are one of Tianlang's people, those insects were brought here by you, how could you not know? You must know, but you're not willing to save them. ZMO's pretty face became cold as she glared at him murderously. Yang Kai's expression also instantly became cold. Noticing that the atmosphere was not right, Chen Shueshu opened his mouth and said, Don't say that, although those insects were brought here by them, the one who attacked you was not this girl. What's more, you were damaged by the Dandan. Who can save you? The man sneered, What's wrong? She was the one who attacked us before, but now you're speaking up for her? Open your dog eyes and see clearly, that bitch is from Tianlang. I am the cultivator for the great Han dynasty. Chapter 250. This man had obviously become muddle-headed because of his bad luck, so when everyone heard him speak, they couldn't help frowning. Watch your mouth. Su Xiaoyu took a step forward and scolded. Originally, she was quite sympathetic to this young man's experience, but now seeing him act so indiscriminately, even cursing her senior brother, any trace of sympathy she had for him instantly disappeared. Chen Shueshu pulled her back and slowly shook his head. Chen Shueshu had a good temper and knew that this man had suffered a great blow, so he didn't want to argue with him. But now, this man actually wanted a yard after taking an inch, glaring at ZMO and cursing, Slut, if you can't find a way to make up for my Danan, I'll make sure you suffer a fate worse than death. ZMO wasn't a woman with a good temper. These past few days, she had been under the control of others and had no control over her own life and death. Not only had she been deceived by Yang Kai, but she had also been plotted against by her fellow sect brothers. She had been suppressing a belly full of anger, so now hearing this man threaten her like this, she couldn't help but become enraged and sneered. You? Don't say I don't know how to save you, even if I did, I wouldn't save you. These words were just spoken out of anger, but when the man heard them, he suddenly became overjoyed and grabbed Bai Xiaoming's arm, excitedly saying, Brother, did you hear that? She really has a way. Quickly, grab her and let her save me. I don't want to become a cripple. Bai Xiaoming's expression became gloomy, but after a moment he slowly nodded and comforted, Good, if she doesn't save you, I'll waste her cultivation and make her your maid, serving you for the rest of her life. Saying so, he slowly got up, turned around, and stared at ZMO with a gloomy expression. ZMO's pretty face flashed a murderous intent as she stared back at him indifferently. What are you doing? Chen Shueshu stood up and tried to smooth things over. Bai Xiaoming, you should know that what this girl said just now was only out of anger. She also saved our lives. If it weren't for her and Brother Yang joining forces to put on a good show, we would still be under the control of Yao He and Yao Shi. It's fine if you don't know how to repay her kindness, but do you really want to attack her? Save our lives? Bai Xiaoming sneered. If it wasn't for her and those two heavenly wolf bastards attacking us, how could we have become their prisoners? She saved us? That was only her way of protecting herself. She had only saved herself. Chen Shueshu, I know you have a good temper, but don't get involved in this matter. Chen Shueshu frowned. Although he didn't like Bai Xiuming, he had to admit that Bai Xiuming was right. It was indeed the truth. ZMO had previously led the monster beast to attack everyone here. Since they were controlled by Yao He and Yao Shi, ZMO was also responsible for this. Just now, when she joined forces with Yang Kai to kill Yao He and Yao Shi, ZMO did so out of self-preservation. He didn't want to save anyone. It was precisely because he knew that Bai Xiuming was telling the truth that Qin Shui Shu felt somewhat troubled. On the one hand, he didn't like ZMO. On the other hand, he knew that ZMO and Yang Kai had come here together, so there was definitely some kind of friendship between the two of them. Whether it was the 4 girls from 10,000 Flower Palace or Yi Qingxi and Zhou Ba's senior sister, all of them chose to remain silent, choosing not to help either side and instead observing the development of the situation. Because none of them knew what the relationship between Yang Kai and ZMO was. Seeing countless pairs of eyes staring at him, ZMO smiled coldly. Staring at Bai Xiuming, Yang Kai sneered, "You want to waste her cultivation and make her your junior brother's maid?" Since someone had set their sights on ZMO, he naturally couldn't just stand idly by. In any case, ZMO was currently under his control. If she can't restore my junior brother to his original state, this will be her fate. Bai Xiuming's expression was gloomy. Your junior brother doesn't have such good fortune. Yang Kai smiled lightly. She's already my maid. ZMO's chest heaved up and down. However, she couldn't refute. Saying that she was Yang Kai's maid was already giving her too much face. Her life and death was in Yang Kai's hands. What could she say? Although she was grinding her teeth, ZMO felt that this man was too hateful to hate. Because this man was now standing up for her. When the others heard this, they were all stunned. Because when they saw that ZMO didn't refute, all of them stared at ZMO and then at Yang Kai, their eyes filled with disbelief. These people had fallen into the hands of Yao He and Yao Shi, living a life of humiliation and torture, but the relationship between Yang Kai and ZMO was reversed. What kind of situation was this? How did he do it? On Leng Shan's face, an unnatural expression flashed. Strictly speaking, her status was the same as ZMO's. Only I can decide the life and death of my maid, you don't have the qualifications to do so. Yang Kai had long been unhappy with Bai Xiuming, so at this moment he decided to vent it all out. Ha! Bai Xiuming sneered, looking at Yang Kai contemptuously. It seems that you've become so infatuated with this Tianlang dragon lady that you don't even know which side you should stand on. For you to speak up for her like this, could it be that you've become a subject under her skirt? That's right, this woman is obviously a fox spirit, a promiscuous whore. There's nothing to lose by letting you play with her a few times. All the women's brows furrowed. Bai Xiuming's words were too blunt and unpleasant to listen to, none of them could accept it. ZMO's beautiful face paled in anger, her tender body trembling slightly. Although she really did look like a slut, and her words and actions gave others the wrong impression, only those who knew her well would know that she was still a real girl. Get out of the way, I'm going to kill him. ZMO clenched her teeth, glaring at Bai Xiuming with hatred, her expression cold. After being humiliated to this extent, there was no room for reconciliation. You can't do it. Yang Kai glared at her coldly. After all, she was a member of Tianlang dynasty. Even if her strength was higher than Bai Xiuming's, she could still defeat him, but once she started a fight with Bai Xiuming, it would be impossible for the great Han dynasty to just sit back and watch. I don't care. I want him to die. ZMO went crazy, the yuan qi in her body raging uneasily. Get out of my way. Yang Kai angrily shouted. ZMO's expression froze, her anger subsiding a lot. She was intelligent and naturally understood what Yang Kai was worried about. Leng Shan, observing the situation, quickly rushed forward and pulled ZMO away. Both of them had experienced the pain of having their souls tortured, so they were well aware of Yang Kai's temperament. If they really disobeyed him, they would likely suffer another round of torture. Bai Xiuming stared coldly at ZMO, his face filled with restlessness. Brother, you can't let her go. Bai Xiuming's junior brother shouted from the side. Bai Xiuming's eyes flashed a trace of determination, nodding slightly, and was about to rush toward ZMO when Yang Kai blocked his path. "I'll play with you." Yang Kai looked at him indifferently. Bai Xiaoming frowned. His expression filled with disgust. "For a Tianlang dynasty slut, are you really willing to go against me? I already said she is my maidservant, her life and death is up to me. You are not my opponent, I don't want to kill you." Bai Xiaoming's face was full of impatience. "How do you know if you haven't fought?" Yang Kai stood firm as a rock. Bai Xiaoming stared deeply at Yang Kai for a moment before nodding disdainfully. "Good, since you want to die. You can't blame me. I'll kill you first, then I'll go find that dragon lady." Saying so, Bai Xiaoming fiercely pushed his palm towards Yang Kai. Yuan Qi was activated, and the wind from his palm whistled through the air. Cries of alarm rang out. No one had expected Bai Xiaoming to suddenly attack. He was a Yuan Qi 4th stage cultivator. On the other hand, Yang Kai was only a separation and reunion boundary 8th stage cultivator. If this kind of killing move continued, how could Yang Kai still be alive? Did he not care that Yang Kai had just saved his life? This person had clearly been blinded by anger, without the slightest bit of morality. "Please show mercy," Han Shaoqi exclaimed. Yi Qingxi, wrapped in a bloody aura, rushed over. ZMO and Leng Shan both couldn't help opening their mouths in shock. In a flash, Yang Kai raised his palm and met Bai Xiaoming's attack head-on. Yuan Qi collided, and world energy surged. Asterisk thump 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 thump. Asterisk Bai Xiaoming involuntarily retreated a dozen steps before regaining his footing, while Yang Kai remained motionless. Yi Qingxi, who was rushing over, came to a halt. The bloody aura around her body was faintly discernible, making her extremely surprised. ZMO and Leng Shan's eyes were filled with disbelief. The towering Zhou Ba narrowed his eyes, his chiseled face twitching a few times. Chen Xueshu and Su Xiaoyu's jaws dropped in shock. The brother and sister both felt like they were out of breath. Everyone's reaction was different, but they were all shocked that Yang Kai was able to repel Bai Xiaoming with a single palm. Separation and reunion boundary 8th stage, Yuan Qi 4th stage, there was a difference of 5 minor realms. However, there was a great dividing line between them. Before the Yuan Qi boundary, the Yuan Qi in a cultivator's body was only Yuan Qi, but after the Yuan Qi boundary, the cultivator's body would be Yuan Qi. The two were simply not on the same level. There had never been a separation and reunion boundary cultivator who could repel an Yuan Qi boundary master in this realm, except for those extremely rare heavenly sons. But now, this shocking scene was happening right in front of everyone's eyes. Bai Xiaoming also stared at Yang Kai in horror, his left hand covering his right hand, desperately urging his Yuan Qi to dissolve the true Yang Yuan Qi that had invaded his body. His right palm was red, as if it was on fire, and this red color was spreading to his arm at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Your Yuan Qi." Bai Xiaoming's voice trembled. "How can it be so pure?" Yang Kai sneered, activating his movement skill, leaving behind an afterimage. In an instant he appeared in front of Bai Xiaoming, his giant palm covering the sky. Bai Xiaoming exclaimed and hurriedly raised his palms to counter. Plucking Cloud Palm. The palm wind could push away clouds, an Earth-grade high-rank martial skill with extraordinary power. Yang Kai's palm met Bai Xiaoming's attack head-on, and with a resounding bang, Bai Xiaoming's body suddenly shrank. Yang Kai was also slightly shaken, but after stabilizing his pace, he gathered his qi in his dantian and punched out. Bai Xiaoming was simply unable to defend against such a ferocious attack that came one after another without rest. This fist directly landed on his chest. Burning Sun's 3-layer explosion. More than a month ago, during the battle between Yang Kai and Qi Jianxing, Burning Sun's 3-layer explosion was perfectly countered by Qi Jianxing, who was at the 3rd level of Yuan Qi. But at this moment, Bai Xiaoming, who was at the 4th level of Yuan Qi, did not have this ability. Firstly, Yang Kai's Yuan Qi was much purer than a month ago, all thanks to the brilliant flame liquid. Secondly, Qi Jianxing's 9-star sword sect was a first-class sect, while Bai Xiaoming's sect was only a second-class sect. Their foundations were very different. Because of this, Burning Sun's three-layer explosion exploded in Bai Xiaoming's body. Bai Xiaoming screamed, his face pale, and involuntarily spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 251. Since he had decided to fight with Bai Xiaoming, Yang Kai naturally had no intention of letting him off easily. He had just saved this person's life, but instead of repaying his kindness, he had even tried to kill him. This kind of person was definitely a scourge. Coupled with the fact that he had repeatedly ridiculed Yang Kai, this only served to increase Yang Kai's desire to kill him. Yang Kai was not a kind person, others had already tried to bully him, so how could he endure? Suddenly suffering a big loss at Yang Kai's hands, Bai Xiaoming no longer dared to act arrogantly, his eyes filled with fear and resentment as he glared at Yang Kai. Just as he was about to use his full strength, he saw Yang Kai raise his palms and release a fierce burst of Yuan Qi. Beast Soul Skill. Two roars rang out as the giant tiger and divine ox, burning like fire, rushed out and joined forces with Yang Kai to attack Bai Xiaoming in a triangular formation. Shocked, Bai Xiaoming's heart was filled with panic as he struggled to cope with this attack, unable to fight back. The two beast souls and Yang Kai's figures crisscrossed, and in less than 3 breaths of time, a hole appeared in Bai Xiaoming's chest. Blood splattered everywhere. Bai Xiaoming fell on his back. His eyes were wide open. His face was filled with disbelief and grievance. Yang Kai looked around and saw that everyone was looking at him in shock. The battle had started quickly and ended quickly, but the result was something no one had expected. A separation and reunion boundary 8th-stage cultivator had actually taken the life of a Yuan Qi 4th-stage cultivator in the blink of an eye, seemingly effortless. In particular, Zmo and Leng Shan were even more shocked. Although the two of them had been together with Yang Kai for some time now, they had never seen him really fight. Even when they were dealing with the monster beast a moment ago, Yang Kai had only shown that he was slightly stronger than an ordinary separation and reunion boundary cultivator. Therefore, the two women had always thought that Yang Kai was only relying on some kind of special secret technique to control their souls. Even though he was wary of the other party, he didn't think much of the other party's strength. Thinking that Yang Kai was just a small separation and reunion boundary 8th-stage cultivator, they didn't take him seriously. Many times, when Zmo and Leng Shan talked about this matter, their hearts were filled with hatred. Part of the reason why Yang Kai was so presumptuous these days was because of this mentality. But now, Zmo and Leng Shan discovered that Yang Kai, whom they had always looked down upon, was actually quite amazing. No matter what, Bai Xiaoming was a level 4 Yuan Qi cultivator. Leng Shan really wanted to fight him. It was not certain who would win or lose. Even if it was Zmo, it would take some effort to take him down. After such a comparison, Zmo and Leng Shan were both shocked and speechless for a long time. Everyone else felt the same way. After killing Bai Xiaoming, Yang Kai turned to look at his junior brother. This person had been chattering non-stop, clamoring for his brother to cripple Zmo's cultivation, and when Bai Xiaoming and Yang Kai were fighting, he had even pointed his gun at Yang Kai, his mouth constantly spewing out obscenities. Now he had shut his mouth, as if he had lost his parents. Looking at Yang Kai in horror, his face instantly became pale as he saw the murderous intent and disgust in Yang Kai's eyes. Yang Kai dared to kill Bai Xiaoming in front of so many people. How could he let him go? The two beast phantoms bared their fangs at him and immediately rushed towards him. No, no! The man struggled to get up and fled in panic. But he was now nothing more than a crippled Dantian cultivator, without a trace of Yuan Qi. How could he escape from the two beast phantoms? The giant tiger and divine ox rushed forward. A series of gnawing sounds rang out. Screams and pleas for mercy rang out. The faces of the dozen or so cultivators trembled. Some of the more soft-hearted cultivators opened their mouths but didn't know what to say. After a moment, the screams stopped and Bai Xiaoming's junior brother was also attacked by the beast phantoms, his body a bloody mess. Glancing around, Yang Kai didn't say a word and simply walked to the side. Zmo and Leng Shan also silently walked over to his side, staring at him with a complex expression. Only now did the two women truly feel a sense of awe towards Yang Kai. Not to mention the fact that Yang Kai had controlled their souls, his terrifying combat prowess alone was enough for them to take him seriously. In a real-life or death battle, Leng Shan definitely wasn't Yang Kai's opponent. ZMO might be able to fight for a while, but ZMO didn't know if she could win. She didn't have much confidence. Recalling Yang Kai's sudden burst of strength, ZMO thought to herself, how did this man cultivate? Why does a separation and reunion 8th stage cultivator have the ability to fight across a great realm? Of the people who came here, which one of them wasn't an elite from their respective sect? Which one of them didn't have the ability to fight across a realm? But in front of Yang Kai, none of this was worth mentioning. He was the elite of this group of elites. It was almost foreseeable that if he didn't die, once he truly matured, he would definitely have a place in this great Han dynasty. Thank you. After a long time, ZMO softly thanked him. Yang Kai opened his eyes and looked at her, smiling faintly. Don't misunderstand, I'm not trying to help you. ZMO stared blankly. Then what? Is it just because he ridiculed you before? Yang Kai bluntly admitted. ZMO opened her mouth and smiled bitterly. You're really petty. You need to change your character. But, you're really strong, I've underestimated you before. What's wrong? Are you impressed by my strength? Do you want to commit yourself to me? Yang Kai chuckled. Hearing this, ZMO couldn't help but recall the unfinished business she had with Yang Kai. In an instant, her expression became cold as she ground her teeth. Sooner or later I'll make you pay the price. You said it yourself, I'm a petty person. It's not a wise choice to speak such harsh words to me. Yang Kai raised a finger and shook it. ZMO felt bitter, but she didn't dare to refute. If she did, who knew what he would do? If he really did take her virginity, ZMO wouldn't even have a place to cry even if she wanted to. A moment later, the sound of footsteps rang out not far away. Yang Kai looked up and saw the group of people from the great Han dynasty, led by Chen Shueshu and Su Xiaoyu, walking towards him. Yang Kai stood up and looked at them quietly. Yi Qingxi smiled towards Yang Kai, and the others who had some friendship with Yang Kai also looked at him without the slightest psychological burden. Only a few of them had some kind of dread on their faces. Yang Kai had just killed Bai Xiaoming and decisively eliminated his junior brother who had no power to resist. This kind of ruthless method of cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots made them somewhat uncomfortable, but since their hands were also stained with blood, they could understand Yang Kai's actions. At this moment, they didn't show any hostility, obviously they had accepted the facts. Bai Xiaoming and his junior brother had been speaking some demoralizing words these days, so his popularity wasn't very good. The scene just now had happened right under their noses, so none of them were people who couldn't distinguish right from wrong. Naturally, they wouldn't blame the deaths of Bai Xiaoming and his junior brother on Yang Kai. In this place, it was already too late to protect oneself, so who would care about the life or death of others? On top of that, these two were annoying people, so their deaths were meaningless. Chen Shueshu stepped forward and together with Su Xiaoyu, handed over a large handful of blood beads and said, "These are the harvest from just now, as well as the blood beads left behind by Yao He and Yao Shi when they killed this girl's monster beast. There are a total of 82 of them, Brother Yang, please count them." Zmo's 30 to 40 monster beast had been killed without any resistance, and with the addition of the monster beast controlled by Yao He and Yao Shi, the harvest from this battle was huge. Yang Kai glanced at him and didn't refuse, reaching out and taking all the blood beads. Although everyone had a share in killing the monster beast, if it weren't for Yang Kai's plan and acting out such a good play, they wouldn't have been able to regain their freedom. Compared to these blood beads, being able to keep their lives was their greatest gain. What's more, after the battle, Yang Kai had even taken out some healing pills for them to consume, which was already the best he could do. These are the blood beads of those 4 people, all of them at the Yuan Qi boundary. Yi Qingxi smiled tenderly, placing another 4 larger and purer blood beads into Yang Kai's hands. Seeing Yang Kai's bountiful harvest, many people were envious, but even though they were envious, no one tried to snatch them, nor did they show any greed. Yang Kai observed everyone's expressions and seeing this scene, secretly nodded and relaxed, knowing that there were only a few like by Xiao Ming and his brother. Chen Shuishu's expression became solemn as he cupped his fists and said, "Many thanks, Brother Yang, for saving our lives. This kindness will be engraved in my heart. If there is an opportunity in the future, I will definitely repay you generously." The dozen or so people all cupped their fists respectfully. Yang Kai also returned the gesture with a dignified expression. No one mentioned by Xiaoming's death. Even if all of these people made it out alive, they probably wouldn't mention it to anyone else. In this isolated world, it was normal for a few people to die. As long as no one leaked that Yang Kai was the one who killed by Xiaoming, the sect behind him would naturally not come looking for trouble with Yang Kai. This incident was thus covered up, and everyone had a tacit understanding. The atmosphere gradually became harmonious, and the little bit of estrangement and fear that originally existed instantly dissipated. But when everyone looked at ZMO, their expressions were still somewhat unnatural. If she was a cultivator of the Great Han Dynasty, it would be a good story to say the least. But after all, ZMO was a cultivator of the Tianlang Dynasty and had attacked them before, so this matter had risen to a whole new level. Even if some people wanted to reconcile, they still had some scruples. Those who were not of the same race were bound to have different intentions. ZMO was intelligent and was well aware of this, so she slipped away to the side, her figure hanging in the air. After chatting for a while, Yang Kai suddenly looked at Chen Shuishu and asked, "Brother Chen, is there something else?" Chen Shuishu's hesitant appearance allowed Yang Kai to see what he wanted to say. Chen Shuishu was stunned for a moment before immediately smiling wryly. "We really do have something we want to ask." "There's no harm in asking." Chen Shuishu pointed to his own dantian, the insect inside. "Is it dead?" Yao He and Yao Shi were already dead, but the soul-controlling insect they had planted in the Great Han Dynasty cultivator was still alive, which was the most worrying thing for everyone. Li Xen Yuan of the Pure Heart Palace had already been drilled into the dantian, and his junior brothers Wafang had been supporting him, so who knew if he would become the next one. Hearing this, Yang Kai turned his head to look at ZMO. ZMO expressionlessly said, "It's not dead, it's still alive in your bodies." Everyone's faces paled as they stared at ZMO. Chapter 252. Yang Kai also frowned and asked, "Do you have a way to get them out?" "Those aren't the soul-controlling insects I planted." ZMO slowly shook her head, her brow furrowed as she continued. "In fact, it's not a big deal to keep them inside, they just need to absorb a little bit of Yuan Qi to survive. Without anyone's orders, they won't harm you. Once you reach the immortal ascension boundary, you can naturally use your divine sense to force them out or return to your sect and have your elders deal with them." This was the lowest level of soul-controlling insects. In addition to being afraid of heat, using one's divine sense to deal with them was also a powerful weapon. That being said, everyone was still frowning. None of them believed ZMO. What's more, even if what ZMO said was true, anyone who had an insect in a dantian would feel somewhat uncomfortable. If in a life or death battle, this insect moved, it could lead to serious consequences. ZMO saw the expressions on everyone's faces and smiled contemptuously. "But if you really want to get these insects out now, I have a way, I just don't know if you'd be willing to let me try." Everyone's expression became bitter as they all turned to look at Yang Kai. None of them believed ZMO. If this Tianlang girl used some kind of trick to control them, then, but if they didn't agree, everyone would also feel uneasy. Having an insect in a dantian, no matter how they thought about it, it was strange. ZMO sneered, satisfied with her mischievous thoughts, and said, "My mistress can help you." "Your mistress?" Chen Shuishu couldn't help but cough lightly. Yang Kai's expression also became awkward as he glared at ZMO bitterly. "Brother Yang, did you really accept her as a maidservant?" Chen Shuishu asked enviously. Su Xiaoyu pinched him fiercely from the side, causing Chen Shuishu's face to twist, but he didn't dare say anything. "She's bullshit. She wants me dead." Yang Kai flatly denied, snorting. He frowned and said, "But I might have a way. It's just that I haven't tried it on a human yet." The soul-controlling insect was afraid of heat, and his true Yang Yuan Qi was its nemesis. Now that Yao He and Yao Shi were no longer controlling them, as long as he used his true Yang Yuan Qi, he would be able to force the soul-controlling insect out of their bodies. Previously, Yang Kai had used this method to force the soul-controlling insect out of the head of a rank 5 monster beast, the Xianxia golden shadow leopard. From there, he learned the secret of the soul-controlling insect. However, if the target was a human, Yang Kai didn't dare to make any guarantees. These people were the elites of their respective sections. The place where the soul-controlling insect was located was the most vulnerable and sensitive part of the Dantian. A small mistake could lead to serious consequences. Seeing Yang Kai hesitate, everyone felt uneasy. "Try it on me." Li Xen Yuan of the Pure Heart Palace suddenly said weakly, a bitter smile hanging on his face, "In any case, my cultivation has been crippled, so if I can let Brother Yang practice on it, it can be considered as doing everyone a favor." Zuofeng immediately said, "Brother, don't say that. Dantian's crippled cultivation can still be repaired, as long as we can find a good medicine. If you want to try, I'll go first." "Junior brother," Li Xen Yuan shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Brother, there's nothing to worry about. Even if Brother Yang fails, isn't it just a life? A live like this. A life worse than death. Don't argue. I don't have much confidence in myself." Yang Kai frowned, then reached out and beckoned to Ziem. "What do you want?" Zemo's face was filled with dissatisfaction, but she still obediently walked over. Seeing her so obedient, the great Han Dynasty's people became more and more surprised. Could it be that the relationship between her and Yang Kai was really that of a servant and master? This was too strange. "Tell me about it. What do I need to do?" Yang Kai asked with a frown. Zemo explained in detail. The method was exactly the same as what Yang Kai had used on the Xianxia golden shadow leopard before, but he had to be more careful. Either he incinerated the Xianxia golden shadow leopard quickly, not giving it any time to react, or he had to use gentle methods to force it out. He absolutely couldn't let it feel uneasy, otherwise, it might really break through his Dantian. After understanding this point, Yang Kai hesitated for a moment before looking at everyone and asking, "Are you sure you want me to do it?" The group nodded. "Good, I can only guarantee that I will do my best to help you, but you will have to bear the consequences." Yang Kai didn't want to get into trouble because of this. Han Shaoqi smiled and said, "Of course, we believe you can do it." The others also didn't object, naturally agreeing with his statement. Yang Kai nodded. After pondering for a long time, he decided to choose the second method. The first method was certainly faster, but the drawbacks were also very big. If he didn't control it well, he would only end up hurting others. Glancing at Li Xen Yuan, Yang Kai said, "I'll try it on you first." Li Xen Yuan smiled and nodded. Zuofeng wanted to say something, but he was stopped by a glare. Lifting his robes and exposing his lower abdomen, the 4 girls from the 10,000 Flower Palace couldn't help blushing, but they didn't dare turn their heads and stared at him. Yang Kai reached out and covered Li Xen Yuan's Dantian, took a deep breath, and immersed himself in controlling his true Yang Yuan Qi, slowly pouring it into Li Xen Yuan's body. Not long after, Yang Kai felt where the soul-controlling insect was. With a thought, he became even more cautious. His true Yang Yuan Qi turned into thousands of threads and wrapped around the soul-controlling insect, wrapping it up before it could react. Li Xen Yuan's face suddenly turned red. He was now a cripple, so the hot Yuan Qi pouring in was somewhat difficult to resist, but this person's perseverance was very strong. Even if his abdomen was burning, he still gritted his teeth and didn't make a sound, only the veins on his forehead throbbing and sweat pouring down his forehead. Yang Kai glanced at him and said, "Bear with it." As soon as his voice fell, he affected the true Yang Yuan Qi, forcing the soul-controlling insect out bit by bit. The soul-controlling insect was clearly struggling, which increased Li Xen Yuan's pain. As the junior brother, Zuofeng couldn't bear to watch from the side, his heart in his throat. Very quickly, the soul-controlling insect was forced out of the Dantian. At this point, Yang Kai could finally let go of his hands and feet, no longer needing to be restrained. His true Yang Yuan Qi suddenly increased in strength. Not long after, everyone could clearly see a small dot appear on Li Xan Yuan's abdomen. Yang Kai's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick. He cut a small hole in the abdomen and directly took out the soul-controlling insect, burning it to ashes. At the same time, Li Xan Yuan couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief and weakly collapsed. "Brother!" Zuofang was shocked and quickly went to support him. After a while, Li Xan Yuan weakly opened his eyes and chuckled. "It was really uncomfortable, but I'm also free." Seeing that he was safe, everyone felt as if a large stone had been lifted from their hearts. Yang Kai's confidence greatly increased and he quickly looked around. "Who's next?" "I'll do it." Chen Shuaishu shouted impatiently and then sat down cross-legged in front of Yang Kai. Having succeeded once, Yang Kai naturally had a much easier time, but Chen Shuaishu was different from Li Xan Yuan. He still had the Yuan Qi in his body, so even if he relaxed his mind and body, the Yuan Qi would automatically resist Yang Kai's true Yang Yuan Qi. With no other choice, Yang Kai could only increase the output of his Yuan Qi and take a long time to release the soul-controlling insect. One after another, there were 17 to 18 people in total, causing Yang Kai to feel extremely tired. After half a day, only a few women were left. Azura sects Yi Qing Si, Water Moon Hall's Feng Qian Hen, Reflecting Moon sects Su Xiaoyu, and the 4 girls from 10,000 Flower Palace. With the exception of Yi Qing Si, who was the most charming of the lot, the other women all blushed, glancing around at each other in embarrassment. The reason was simple. When Yang Kai was pulling the soul-controlling insect, his hand was covering the dantian. The dantian was the lower abdomen, the delicate navel. Thinking of this, the women all blushed. Yi Qing Si pursed her lips and giggled. "I'll go first, you little girls. Why are you so shy? It's not like he'll eat you." "Ahem." Yang Kai said seriously, "Don't tease me." The expressions of the group of men around them also became strange. Sitting down cross-legged in front of Yang Kai, Yi Qing Si's eyes shone like water as she stared at Yang Kai boldly, slowly unbuttoning her clothes. Kacha, Kacha, heavy breathing sounds rang out. Yi Qing Si's enchanting figure was like a ripe peach, her face charming and her figure graceful. Such a mature woman's temptation to men was extremely strong. Seeing her unbuttoning her clothes and about to reveal her beautiful body, the group of men naturally stared intently. Who would want to miss such a wonderful moment? Hee hee. Yi Qing Si not only didn't show any signs of fear, she even giggled. "Little vixen." All the men present breathed heavily. "Hm?" Han Shaoqi's expression became cold as she glanced around. "Close your dog eyes, close your dog eyes." Su Xiaoyu kept sweeping her hand across her brother's eyes, causing Chen Shuaishu's face to redden as he blinked, feeling like a cat was scratching at his heart. Yi Qing Si's movements also stopped and she smiled. You really want to stay?" Heh. Zuofang, Chu Jingshan, and the others suddenly smiled and licked their lips. "We thought you wouldn't mind." "Nonsense." Yi Qing Si rolled her eyes at them. "I'm just giving you some face. You don't even have the slightest self-awareness. Do you want me to drive you away?" Let's go, let's go." Zuofang supported Li Xan Yuan and quickly retreated with the other men. After a while, all of them sighed regretfully. "Don't pull me away." Chen Shuaishu was anxious as he was hugged by Zhou Ba, unable to resist. "My junior sister is still there, I have to watch. Get away." Su Xiaoyu said shyly. After all the men had retreated 1,000 meters away and determined that they couldn't see anything, the women relaxed. Yang Kai's expression was calm and natural as he turned to Yi Qing Si and said, "Continue." Yi Qing Si's face blushed slightly as she took a deep breath, grit her teeth, and continued to unbutton her clothes. Yi Han's eyes widened as her cheeks burned as she stammered, "Do we all have to do this?" Yang Kai nodded solemnly. Yi Han immediately covered her cheeks. "Can we not take off our clothes?" Yang Kai frowned. "If you're not afraid of making a mistake, you can. But direct contact will make it easier for me to control Yuan Qi." Chapter 253. What he said was the truth. Being separated by a layer of clothing was definitely not as convenient as physical contact to control her yuan qi. Han Shaoqi's eyelashes fluttered as she whispered, "Junior brother Yang is a gentleman, what are you afraid of?" Yi Han stammered, "I'm not afraid." Aya? Before she could finish speaking, she threw herself into the arms of Lu Qingru's senior sister and hid. ZMO, who was standing nearby, sneered meaningfully, causing all the other women's expressions to become unnatural. "Don't make a sound." Yang Kai glared at her for a moment before stretching out his hand and placing it on Yi Qingxi's smooth belly. As soon as he touched her, Yi Qingxi couldn't help shivering, grit her teeth, and stared straight at Yang Kai with watery eyes, as if she wanted to see into his heart. His exposed skin was suffused with a layer of faint red light. Yang Kai was unscrupulous and without the slightest hint of guilt, his pair of thieving eyes roamed over Yi Qingxi's body as his hands continued to move, controlling her true Yang Yuan Qi to perfection. Little bastard! How could Yi Qingxi not see the change in Yang Kai's demeanor? His eyes were even sharper than a thief's, so she couldn't help blushing as she scolded him. "You can't see anything." Yang Kai grinned meaningfully. Indeed, he couldn't see anything. All women were wearing corsets and Yi Qingxi hadn't taken off all her clothes, so even if Yang Kai wanted to see, he couldn't. Shameless. Yi Qingxi ground her teeth so hard they were about to break. Although she said this, there was still a trace of a smile on her face. She was simply angered by Yang Kai. There had never been a man who dared to take advantage of her so unscrupulously. "A gentleman?" ZMO ridiculed from the side, glancing over at Han Shaoqi faintly, the latter's pretty face suddenly blushing red. Just now, she had wanted to use this big hat of gentleman to pressure Yang Kai, but Yang Kai didn't buy it at all. Han Shaoqi finally understood what Yang Kai meant when he said, "A man's true colors." In front of a beauty, which man wouldn't take a few glances? If he really was indifferent, that would be a problem. On the surface he was indifferent, but on the inside he was acting dirty. At least, his true nature, without the slightest pretentious. Thinking up to here, Han Shaoqi let out a sigh of relief. Just take it as a reward for him. A short time later, a small bulge appeared on Yi Qingxi's waist. Yang Kai was about to cut it, but Yang Kai, if you leave a scar, I won't let you. At a time like this, you still care about such things. Yang Kai was speechless for a while before he raised his hand and cut open a small wound. He forced the soul-controlling insect out and burned it. Next, Yang Kai turned to look at the women. The girls all looked at each other and hesitated for a long time before Han Shaoqi braced herself and blushed, "I'll do it." As the senior sister of the four from the 10,000 Flower Palace, she felt that she had to set an example. Sitting in front of Yang Kai, she methodically unbuttoned her clothes, closed her eyes, and entered a meditative state. Seeing her like this, Yang Kai became even more impolite. One by one, of the four from 10,000 Flower Palace, Han Shaoqi's elegance, Yi Han's tenderness, Lu Qingru's charm, and Hua Ruoyin's tranquility. Each of them had a different temperament. Coupled with Yi Qingxi's charm and Feng Qianhen's agility, Yang Kai was addicted to watching. Finally, it was Su Xiaoyu's turn. After she sat in front of him, she blushed and was about to unbutton her clothes, but Yang Kai reached out and stopped her. "You don't need to. Isn't it difficult to control Yuan Qi?" Su Xiaoyu asked softly. "I've tried so many times, now I should be able to do it with clothes on," Yang Kai explained. Hearing this, Su Xiaoyu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Not finished yet, Yang Kai reached out and tore a piece of cloth from his clothes. Then he blindfolded his eyes. Seeing this scene, Yi Han angrily said, "Why did you cover your eyes when it was Su Xiaoyu's turn?" Yang Kai turned his head and said, "She has a man, if I don't cover my eyes, I'm afraid Brother Chen will try to kill me." Yi Han nodded thoughtfully, smiling as she said, "You're quite considerate." "Of course. Who do you think I am? Do you think I'm some kind of pervert?" The group of women all looked a little apologetic, feeling like they had misunderstood Yang Kai. Han Shaoqi was feeling guilty, but suddenly her expression became cold. "Just now, can you also cover your eyes?" to force out the soul-controlling insect, he only needed to use his hands and true Yang Yuan Qi. It didn't matter if he couldn't see. Originally, she hadn't thought of this, but now seeing Yang Kai do this, Han Shaoqi suddenly became vigilant. Yang Kai didn't dare to answer, his face filled with embarrassment. Han Shaoqi's tender body suddenly began to tremble. The other women glanced at each other and immediately sneered, rushing forward and smashing him with their fists. Half an hour later, the group of girls conversed with the others while chatting and laughing. Chen Shueshu was the first to rush over. He held his junior sister's hand and asked anxiously, "How is it? How is it?" Su Xiaoyu quickly explained what had just happened. Chen Shueshu immediately looked towards Yang Kai gratefully. Yang Kai taking care of his face and dignity as a man undoubtedly made Chen Shueshu feel very moved. Looking up, Chen Shueshu saw Yang Kai's swollen face and immediately became shocked. "Brother Yang, Yang Kai smiled bitterly. Minor injuries, serves you right." ZMO gloated from the side. Yang Kai didn't care, thinking about it for a moment before taking out 2 bottles of healing pills from his universe bag and handing them to Chen Shueshu. "Brother Yang, what are you doing?" Chen Shueshu took them and asked curiously. "Keep these for everyone in case of emergency. Also, if you encounter Wu Qingyi, don't trust him." Yang Kai said solemnly. "What's wrong?" Hearing him mention Wu Qingyi, everyone gathered around. Yang Kai briefly explained what had happened before. After listening, everyone's expression became ugly. Zuofang angrily cursed. "Yes, I was wondering why Qi Jianxing suddenly disappeared. It turns out he was sent out by Wu Qingyi to kill Brother Yang. The last time I asked him, he told me he was just going to explore and would be back in a few days." Chen Shueshu was even more furious. That bastard's schemes are truly ruthless. What a vicious method. Just for a bottle of healing medicine, you actually want to kill them all. Han Shaoqi frowned. "It turns out we were all wrong about him. If we had continued to follow him, perhaps we would have encountered some kind of accident. Just for a bottle of healing pills." Wu Qingyi was willing to kill Yang Kai, so there was no guarantee he wouldn't do the same to any of the cultivators around him. So many people, so many blood beads, and all of them were Yuan Qi masters. It was enough for Wu Qingyi to break through to the next realm. "Next time we meet him, elder sister will help you teach him a lesson." Yi Qingxi's brow furrowed. She had come from the Endless Sea Islands, so she had no scruples when it came to the 9-star sword school. Now that this group of people had joined forces, the Tianlang dynasty's monster beast army no longer existed. In addition to Wu Qingyi, only Qi Shui and the 6th Order monster beast were left. However, even with the 6th Order monster beast enslaved, Qi Shui wanting to deal with so many people on his own was still somewhat unrealistic. In short, with this group of people here, as long as they did not separate, they were invincible existences. Chen Shueshu, on the other hand, saw some clues from Yang Kai's words. "Brother Yang." Yang Kai smiled, cupped his fists, and said, "I want to leave." Everyone's expression changed slightly, and Yi Han asked, "You want to leave? Why do you want to leave?" Yang Kai slowly shook his head. Yi Qingxi rolled her eyes and stepped forward. "Is it because I just beat you up and you're not feeling well? If that's the case, elder sister will let you beat me up, so please be gentle with me. It's nothing, I just have my own considerations." Yang Kai did not explain further. Hearing this sentence, ZMO looked at him strangely, her heart slightly moved. The others also guessed something, looking at ZMO and then at Yang Kai, hesitating to speak. "That's all." Yang Kai smiled, turning to Lung Shan. "You stay with them." Saying so, he called out to the old demon in his heart. But there was no response, so Yang Kai knew this old demon must have sealed him. After unsealing the seal, Yang Kai looked at Lung Shan and said, "I have a grudge with your Ghost King Valley. Jin Hao was killed by me, and so was Yu Cheng Kuan. If you want to avenge them in the future, just come to High Heaven Pavilion and find me." If it was 10 days ago, Yang Kai would definitely not have spared Lung Shan's life, but now that they had gone through so much together, it would be unreasonable to kill her. Lung Shan's eyelashes fluttered as she shook her head. "No need." Yang Kai smiled lightly. That would be for the best. Saying so, he glanced at her forehead, hesitating for a moment before saying, I can't take back the gift I gave you for the time being. Wait until I break through to the immortal ascension boundary. Lung Shan nodded slightly, squeezing out a smile. I believe it won't be long. She naturally knew what Yang Kai's gift was. It was nothing more than the brand in her mind. If the brand didn't change, she would forever be Yang Kai's slave, her life and death uncontrollable. On this point, Yang Kai hadn't lied to her. That brand was something the old demon had helped him plant, and whether it was ZMO or Lung Shan, both of them had personally sent their divine senses to Yang Kai. If not for this, there would have been no way to plant the brand. However, if they wanted to remove it, it wouldn't be so simple. Yang Kai would have to use his own means to do so. Everyone, the green hills do not change, the green water flows forever. Farewell, we will meet again. Yang Kai smiled and cupped his fists. Take care. Yang Kai turned around and flew off like a meteor. ZMO didn't say a word, silently following behind him. After a long time, Chen Shueshu said, in fact, there's nothing wrong with that Tianlang woman following us. Brother Yang has too many concerns. Yi Qingxi smiled charmingly. Can you guarantee that you can lead that Tianlang woman with a calm heart? Chen Shueshu was stunned for a moment before shaking his head with a wry smile. ZMO had once been their enemy and was also the cultivator of Tianlang. With a soul-controlling insect in her hands, no one could treat her with a calm heart. If she stayed, no one would embarrass her out of respect for Yang Kai, but they would definitely be on guard against her. As an outsider, she naturally wouldn't feel comfortable. Yang Kai must have taken her with this in mind. Lung Shan, is that woman really Brother Yang's maid? Chen Shueshu asked curiously. Lung Shan glanced at him coldly before turning around and leaving him with her back to him. What did I say wrong? Chen Shueshu was speechless. At that moment he had seen the disgust in Lung Shan's eyes, but he hadn't realized that his question had also poked Lung Shan's sore spot. Chapter 254. Walking through the dense forest, ZMO stared at Yang Kai's back with a complicated expression. Several times she wanted to say something but hesitated, not knowing what to say. Silence lingered between the two of them as Yang Kai simply dashed forward, stopping from time to time, frowning as he pondered, glancing left and right, then suddenly setting off again. ZMO was like a tail, closely following behind Yang Kai, never leaving his side. A day later, ZMO finally couldn't stand the silence any longer, and in a fit of pique, she froze in place. Yang Kai ran a few thousand meters before realizing something was wrong and quickly rushed back, only to see that ZMO was still standing in place, staring at him coldly with her chin slightly raised. What are you doing? Yang Kai frowned, his expression quite unpleasant. I was going to ask you what you were doing. ZMO's chest heaved up and down as she spat out these harsh words, her voice softening a lot. In fact, you don't need to do this. What do I do? Yang Kai looked at her questioningly. Separate from those people. With them, you don't need to worry about your own safety. Now in this isolated world, besides you, me, and that group of people, only my brother is left. With their strength and numbers, they don't need to fear my brother and Wu Chengyi, so separating from them is not a wise choice. Yang Kai looked her up and down, his mouth slowly blooming into an inexplicable smile. You don't think I separated from those people because I was worried about your situation, right? Yang Kai frowned. ZMO's face reddened as she stared straight at Yang Kai. Instead, she asked, is that not the case? You think too highly of yourself. Yang Kai smiled contemptuously. You are the cultivator of Tianlang, and before yesterday, we were enemies. Even if you acted well in your heart, you still wanted to take my life. If you are not benevolent, then I will not be righteous. Why should I care if you live or die? ZMO was so angry that her chest heaved up and down as she ground her teeth. Ever since I was controlled by you. Which part of me didn't do well? I know you care a lot about your reputation and are stubborn, but you don't have to be so heartless, right? It was the same when he killed Bai Xiaoming. Although he was annoyed that Bai Xiaoming had ridiculed him before, It was more or less because he wanted to stand up for himself. However, this man refused to admit it no matter what. ZMO was smart, so whatever he said was the truth. She wouldn't point it out and make him lose face. But now he actually said that. Was face that important? Are there feelings between us? Yang Kai grinned meaningfully and stepped forward, reaching out and wrapping his arm around Zimo's waist, his hand unceremoniously stroking her smooth and tender skin. Zimo quickly stretched out her hands and blocked Yang Kai's chest. Her upper body bent backwards, and a numb feeling came from her waist. She couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. She frowned and coldly rebuked, "What are you doing?" "You said I'm heartless, but I'll show you that I'm heartless." Yang Kai's hands became even more unbridled. "Let me go." Zimo's expression turned cold. Yang Kai grinned. He no longer acted presumptuously and loosened his grip. Zmo quickly retreated a few steps, opening up some distance between them, her face filled with vigilance. "You're right." Yang Kai suddenly nodded. "Part of the reason I separated from them was because I was worried about your situation." Zimo's eyes couldn't help but flash a trace of emotion. "No matter what, you're still my slave. You're my servant, so if you don't have any face, I won't have any face either, right?" Zimo's pretty face suddenly became cold again. "This damn stinky man." Zmo cursed in her heart, secretly hating him. "But that's not the main reason." Yang Kai raised a finger and shook it. "What's the main reason?" Zmo took a deep breath and asked. "I'm going to find Wu Chengyi." Yang Kai's face flashed a fierce light. "I'm going to kill him." Wu Chengyi had sent his junior brother to take Yang Kai's life, but Yang Kai wasn't someone who was easy to deal with. Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. Wu Chengyi must pay the price for his actions. As a 9-star sword faction disciple, his status was definitely not low. Once he escaped from this isolated world, it would be difficult to kill him outside, so Yang Kai wanted to deal with him here. This opportunity was now or never. What's more, Wu Chengyi must have a treasure like the brilliant flame liquid on him, so Yang Kai couldn't just let him go. Although the brilliant flame liquid was no longer useful to him, it was still useful to others. However, if they acted together with this group of people, even if they killed Wu Chengyi, there wouldn't be enough brilliant flame liquid to share. Yang Kai wanted to monopolize it. "You're really bold. Someone who can escape from my brother's hands must have extraordinary strength. I won't deny that you're very strong, but do you think you can win against that Wu Chengyi?" Zmo stared at Yang Kai like she was looking at a monster, her face filled with disbelief, thinking to herself that this person was really bold. "Whether I can win or not, we'll know after we fight." Yang Kai snorted and stared at Zmo meaningfully. "Don't I still have you here to help me? What do you think I brought you out here for?" Zmo's pretty face went cold as she stamped her foot. "You can go die now." So he has so many plans. She had just been a little touched by his words. "Ha!" Laughing heartily, Yang Kai stretched out his hand and gently stroked Zmo's face, pretending to be mesmerized by her beauty. "Don't be so heartless. If you spend more time with me, you'll discover many of my strong points. Maybe you'll even fall for me." "Shameless." Zmo sneered. Although his words were a bit shameless, it was undeniable that this young man had many qualities that other men of his generation didn't have. These qualities that were unintentionally revealed were very attractive, especially to women. Knowing his true thoughts, Zmo was no longer annoyed, instead smiling slightly and asking, "You've been looking everywhere for traces of that Wu Chengyi. Have you found any clues?" "No," Yang Kai shook his head. "For a master like him, it's very easy for him to hide his tracks." After a short pause, Yang Kai smiled confidently, "But as long as he's still here, we'll find him." "I think I can help you." Zmo chuckled. Yang Kai nodded. "That's exactly what I was thinking." Over the next few days, Yang Kai and Zmo searched for traces of Wu Chengyi while also searching for Monster Beast. Yao He and Yao Shi had controlled more than 100 Monster Beasts that day, and although they had killed 30 to 40 of them, there were still nearly 70 left. These were probably the only Monster Beast left in this isolated world. After a few days, their harvest was not great, ZMO only managed to control 7 monster beasts with her soul controlling insects. These controlled monster beasts were scattered around, greatly increasing the range and efficiency of their search. 10 days later, the number of monster beasts controlled by ZMO had increased to 15, and on this day, Yang Kai finally found traces of Wu Chengyi. One of the monster beasts that had been scattered around suddenly died, and when Yang Kai and ZMO went to investigate, they were surprised to find some traces of sword qi left behind. It's Wu Chengyi. Yang Kai's expression brightened. This sword qi could not be displayed by ordinary people, only a disciple of the 9-star sword faction could. On top of that, the one who had died was a 5th-order monster beast, so to be able to kill it in a single blow, the strength of the one who used this sword qi was definitely not low. Combining all the clues, Yang Kai almost instantly determined that it was Wu Chengyi who had killed it. Following these clues, they quickly chased after him, but after half a day, they lost track of Wu Chengyi. Yang Kai's brow furrowed. For the first time he felt that without cultivating his divine sense, even finding someone was so troublesome. If he cultivated his divine sense, it would be a different story. As long as his divine sense was strong enough, he would be able to see everything within a dozen kilometers at a glance. Just as Yang Kai was feeling vexed, ZMO's expression suddenly changed as she looked towards Yang Kai and said, "My brother is nearby." Yang Kai turned to look at her and asked, "Qi Shui?" ZMO's expression was very ugly. He has a 6th-order monster beast, combined with his own strength, he is invincible here. If you meet him, you will die. We need to avoid him. He's also here. Could it be he was chasing after Wu Chengyi? Yang Kai's mind raced. When the 4 Tianlangsan Luo Temple disciples had besieged the great Han Dynasty's cultivator with their monster beast army, except for Wu Chengyi, who had managed to escape with his own strength, the others had all been captured. After that, Qi Shui had led his 6th-order monster beast to chase after Wu Chengyi. Yang Kai was also doing the same thing. The two of them had the same goal, so it was not surprising that they would meet. It's too late. ZMO's beautiful face went pale as she quickly turned her head to the side and whispered, "Don't say anything, I'll deal with him. If he finds out about the relationship between you and me, he definitely won't let you off." Yang Kai looked at her strangely. ZMO coldly snorted, "I'm just trying to protect myself, don't think too much about it. If you wanted to kill me, it would only take a single thought. So I can't let you be in any danger, lest you try to drag me down with you." Pet. Yang Kai chuckled and turned his head towards the direction ZMO was looking at. A majestic monster beast leapt out from the nearby jungle. This monster beast looked like a mix between a wolf and a tiger. Its body was vigorous and its 4 limbs were powerful, giving off a ferocious aura. Its body was more than 10 meters long, and even though it was several dozen meters away, this monster beast still gave Yang Kai an inexplicable sense of oppression. 6th-order monster beast. A veritable 6th-order monster beast. When it appeared, the monster beast around ZMO all crouched down, like mice that had seen a cat. On the back of the monster beast sat a young man wearing a purple robe, about 25 to 26 years old, with sword-like eyebrows, a pair of piercing eyes, and a cold expression. This was Qi Shui. Compared to Wu Chengyi, he had a completely different temperament. In comparison, Wu Chengyi was calmer, while Qi Shui was more overbearing, but no matter who it was, they both gave off a sense of arrogance. Both were proud sons of the heavens, so they had the qualifications to be arrogant. Qi Shui looked at ZMO and let the 6th-order monster beast he was sitting on walk forward, not even sparing a glance at Yang Kai. The 6th-order monster beast came to a stop a few dozen meters away. "Big brother." ZMO stepped forward and saluted. The 6th-order monster beast let out a low roar filled with menace. The monster beast's reaction made ZMO's heart skip a beat. Looking at her big brother, she found that he was staring at her with cold eyes. Chapter 255. Yao He and Yao Shi are dead. Do you know that? After a long silence, Qi Shui finally spoke. His eyes narrowed slightly, flashing a dangerous light, as if warning ZMO that her answer would determine her fate. ZMO felt a chill run down her spine, frowning. "I killed them." Qi Shui's narrowed eyes suddenly widened, and he shouted, "You killed them?" Zmo replied without fear. "Give me a reason." Qi Shui coldly snorted, his face cold and ruthless. Zmo trembled slightly and replied, "They killed my monster beast, took my soul-controlling insect, and destroyed a thread of my divine sense." Qi Shui frowned, looking at Zmo suspiciously. "Why did they do that?" Zmo sneered, "Brother, you already know the answer in your heart, why ask me?" Qi Shui closed his eyes for a moment before nodding slightly. They dared to act against you. They brought this upon themselves." Hearing this sentence, Zmo couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. If Qi Shui really wanted to stick his neck out for Yao He and Yao Shi, then things would become quite bad. Fortunately, Qi Shui still had some semblance of a brother and didn't indiscriminately punish Zmo, but "You alone can't kill them." Qi Shui faintly said, "Who helped you?" Zmo bit her red lips, not saying a word. Qi Shui glanced at Yang Kai, his expression indifferent. "I don't care about the fight between you and Yao He and Yao Shi. When we return, Master will deal with it impartially. But if an outsider acts against them, you should know how to deal with it." "I know," Zmo whispered. "Then to kill him." Qi Shui stretched out his hand and pointed at Yang Kai, his expression cold. His tone brooked no argument. Yang Kai's heart skipped a beat, secretly becoming vigilant. He hadn't expected Zmo's brother to be so decisive and ruthless. Zmo raised her head, her eyes flashing with a hint of struggle. She definitely couldn't do anything to Yang Kai. As long as she had such thoughts, Yang Kai would be able to kill her. But Qi Shui was right in front of her, forcing her to do something, no matter how intelligent Zmo was. At this moment he didn't know how to solve the problem in front of him. No matter what she chose, it was impossible to satisfy both of them at the same time. "You are with me, so there is no need for him to protect you. What are you waiting for?" Qi Shui coldly urged. Zmo's chest heaved as she struggled, unable to make up her mind. After a long time, Zmo raised her head and smiled bitterly. "I can't kill him." Scarlet blood narrowed his eyes, his voice cold. "Why?" Yang Kai sneered in his heart as he waited for Zmo's reply. Once she revealed his secret, she would suffer an unforgettable punishment. "'Cause I like him." Zmo's eyes were firm, her cheeks slightly flushed. After that, she added, "I'm already his woman, so I can't do anything to him." Yang Kai was dumbfounded as he stared at Zmo in amazement. He never thought that this woman would come up with such a lame excuse. Qi Shui's face was also filled with shock as he stared at Zmo with a pained expression. Gritting his teeth, he said, "What did you say?" "I said, I like him, I'm already his woman." Zmo had already broken the jar, so when she said such a thing for the second time, her expression was undoubtedly much more natural. Qi Shui was so angry that he laughed. "You like a big man's cultivator?" Zmo secretly glanced at Yang Kai and saw his ruddy face filled with self-satisfaction. She couldn't help feeling bitter in her heart. She couldn't wait to go up and slap him a few times to vent her anger. Although she also knew that this excuse was too lame, at this point, she really couldn't think of a better one. However, this man was still so proud of himself, completely unaware of the bitterness in her heart. Qi Shui's face was cold as he stared at Yang Kai, taking a deep breath and saying, "You really didn't plant a soul-controlling insect. It seems you weren't lying." Yang Kai's heart went cold. Qi Shui's words inadvertently revealed an important piece of information. He seemed to be able to sense the existence of a soul-controlling insect. "I don't need to lie to you." Zmo forced a smile. Good. Qi Shui's yuan qi surged as his murderous intent spread out. "Since you don't know how to respect yourself, even that big man's trash can easily possess you. This big brother doesn't need to be biased towards you. This time when we return, I will report everything to Master. You can just wait to receive your punishment." Zmo's tender body trembled as she remained silent. As for him, Qi Shui coldly stared at Yang Kai. "If you don't want to kill him, then this big brother will do it for you." As soon as his voice fell, the more than a dozen monster beasts controlled by Zmo suddenly stood up and rushed towards Yang Kai, baring their fangs fiercely. Yang Kai's expression changed slightly as he stared at ZMO coldly. ZMO hurriedly explained, "You run. Big Brother's soul-controlling insect is of a higher grade and can affect my soul-controlling insect. So that's how it is." Listening to ZMO's words, Yang Kai finally relaxed. Originally, he had thought that ZMO wanted to secretly kill him, but it seems he had misunderstood this woman. "You think you can run away?" Qi Shui coldly snorted, and the more than a dozen monster beasts became even more ferocious as they formed a circle around Yang Kai. ZMO's face instantly turned pale as sweat poured out of her forehead. While trying to control her soul-controlling insect, she anxiously shouted to Yang Kai, "Hurry up and run, why are you still standing there like a fool?" Yang Kai remained unmoved as he stared at the sixth-order monster beast under Qi Shui. Qi Shui sneered and issued a command in his heart. The more than a dozen monster beasts leapt up and rushed towards Yang Kai. ZMO tried her best to control her soul-controlling insect, but to no avail. Yang Kai's expression was cold as his figure flickered and he flashed out of the monster beast's encirclement. The Yuan Qi in his body surged as he used the white tiger seal in his left hand and the divine ox seal in his right, fusing the two seals into one. A ray of light flew out from his palm and shot straight towards the sixth-order monster beast. Roar. A deafening roar rang out as the sixth-order monster beast under Qi Shui opened its mouth and spat out a huge wind blade visible to the naked eye. This wind blade collided with Yang Kai's beast slave seal. The two violent energies collided midair and the beast slave seal was directly shattered. "You overestimate yourself." Qi Shui coldly snorted. He didn't know the mysteries of the beast slave seal. He only thought that this was some kind of offensive method used by Yang Kai. However, Yang Kai's actions had also revealed his true strength. Separation and reunion boundary 8th stage. Perceiving this, Qi Shui became even angrier. If this person was really a genius from the Great Han Dynasty, ZMO's love for him was understandable, but he clearly hadn't even reached the Yuan Qi boundary. How could he have the qualifications to make ZMO fall in love with him? Qi Shui, as the eldest brother of this family, naturally felt deeply ashamed. He was even more determined to eliminate Yang Kai. Kill! Qi Shui didn't even have the intention to personally take action. Raising his hand and waving it, the more than a dozen monster beasts under ZMO's control once again rushed forward. Yang Kai's figure flashed again. Turning a deaf ear to the shouts of the more than a dozen monster beasts and ZMO, Yang Kai rushed straight towards the sixth-order monster beast. Sitting on the back of the monster beast, Qi Shui sneered again and again, his eyes filled with arrogance as he watched Yang Kai's struggle and resistance with disdain. "Your footwork is good, but your strength is too weak," Qi Shui arrogantly commented. The rank 6 monster beast under him seemed to know his master's thoughts. The beast opened its mouth again, but this time it roared continuously. Accompanied by the roar, a half-foot-long wind blade flew out, fiercely attacking Yang Kai's path. Yang Kai dodged left and right, concentrating on dodging as he approached the sixth-order monster beast without stopping for a moment. As the distance between them got closer and closer, Qi Shui's expression finally changed slightly. He found that he had underestimated the speed and footwork of this big man cultivator. ZMO's more than a dozen monster beasts couldn't do anything to him, and even his own sixth-order monster beast couldn't attack him. In just a few breaths of time, Yang Kai was already within 5 feet of him. Humph! Qi Shui's face was filled with anger, his eyes staring at Yang Kai, his expression extremely cold. 3 feet, the big man cultivator's speed increased again, leaving behind an afterimage. Qi Shui's eyes were focused on the 6 directions, his ears listening to all directions, suddenly sneering. Qi Shui leaned sideways and sent out a palm strike. The palm wind whistled, and when it burst out, Yang Kai's figure appeared. It looked like Yang Kai had hit Qi Shui's attack. A light shot out from Yang Kai's palms, hitting the sixth-order monster beast under Qi Shui. At the same time, Yang Kai hurriedly exchanged a blow with Qi Shui. Accompanied by a light sound, his body flew far away like a paper kite. Ridiculous! Qi Shui frowned. He found that the big man cultivator had rushed over, but had only shot a light at his sixth-order monster beast. Although it had hit, his monster beast didn't have much of a reaction. On the other hand, Qi Shui was certain that the big man cultivator had suffered some injuries. Pang! Yang Kai fell to the ground, stumbling back a few steps before stabilizing his body. Taking a deep breath, he suppressed the tumbling blood in his chest, his eyes flashing a look of surprise. Amazing! Yang Kai was not stingy with his praise. Qi Shui was worthy of being an elite from a superforce, even if he was only from a small branch. This kind of strength was not something an ordinary person could compare to. Now it's too late to beg for mercy. Qi Shui's expression was cold. Junior sister, this big brother can give you a chance. As long as you kill him, I will put in a few good words for you in front of Master. I can even help you hide the fact that you have lost your virginity, so it won't affect your status in the sect. Otherwise, if this matter spreads, it will be very difficult for you. Zmo shook her head without hesitation. It's impossible for me to kill him. Attacking Yang Kai was tantamount to digging one's own grave. This was something Zmo had considered very clearly. Good, this is the path you have chosen, so don't regret it in the future. Qi Shui didn't know the reason for this, so naturally, he felt resentful towards Yang Kai for failing to meet his expectations. Patting his monster beast, he coldly glared at Yang Kai and said, I don't know what means you used to conquer my junior sister, but the women of our Tianlang dynasty cannot be possessed by your great Han dynasty men, so you must die. Saying these words in an overbearing manner, Qi Shui quietly waited for Yang Kai's death, but a moment later, his expression couldn't help but change as he looked down at his monster beast in surprise. Just now, he had given his monster beast the order to attack, but it had not responded at all. The soul-controlling insect was still there. How could this be? Feeling suspicious, Qi Shui issued another order in his heart, and this time the monster beast reacted, but instead of attacking Yang Kai, it jumped up and landed heavily, directly throwing Qi Shui away. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.